Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be speaking with you today to share with you how to overcome the three biggest challenges of building a chatbot. My name is Victor Tu. I lead the Neurobots team. I'll share with you a little bit about what Neurobots is at Petuum. And joining me today is Dr. Bin Zhao. He is the VP of Machine Learning at Petuum. So without further ado, let's get started. So I want to talk to you a little bit about machine learning and AI in the industry. I'm sure many of you know, this is probably to no surprise to you based on the stats that you are seeing. The vast majority of AI projects, according to Gartner, actually fail. And we actually see this as a big problem in the industry where Petuum is here. Our goal is really to help address some of these challenges. Why are people still experiencing significant failures when it comes to trying to implement AI in their organizations? We also realize that still today, there are not a lot of AI talents in the industry. And we are thinking, how can we as a company be able to impart or provide AI capabilities to our customers without our customers having to create a large team of AI talents on their own? Perhaps with their existing software engineering team or with their existing development team, you are able to create the solutions with AI very easily. So our mission is really to help transform the world with artificial intelligence to better serve you. So ultimately, we want to provide you, the customers, with the ability to use AI in a very efficient and effective manner. So just a little bit about who Petuum is. We were fortunate enough to have received a sizable funding from one of the top investors in the world, really based on our founders' credentials from Carnegie Mellon universities. In fact, our two founders were professors at Carnegie Mellon University. They were one of the top scientists in the world. In the company, we actually have over 50 AI experts from some of the top universities in the world, especially Dr. Bin Zhao. Even he is a top student from the Carnegie Mellon University. So we have some of these top talents in the company, and our main goal is really to transform some of these ambiguity around AI and make it more usable, more practical for our customers. So just a little bit about the Petuum product stack. If you look at our product stack today, we have Petuum Symphony. Think about this as the element of the layer where the ML engineers will be comfortable in playing with. So they would actually come in here and prepare the data, do AI ML modeling, using it as an infrastructure to be able to scale it out based on the applications that they're building. So all of these are all-encompassing elements that are built into Symphony. And then the second layer, we have what we call AI libraries, and this is where Neurobots sits. This is the key product line that we are delivering to our customers, and the Neurobots family comprises of four very key machine learning technologies, as you can see here. And then at the top layer, we have customers who work with us closely where we actually develop customized enterprise solutions for them end to end. So these are the three product layer stacks that we have. So with that, we're going to transition over quickly to the main topic today, which is the three biggest challenges to building a chatbot. And with that, I'm going to hand over the presentation to Dr. Bin Zhao.
All right, thanks, Victor. So here we are showing a statement from Gartner. So this was published back in 2018. So what it says is that 25% of customer service and support will integrate chatbot technology by 2020. This is up from less than 2% in 2017. So, and also on the left, we're showing a graph here where you can see that the horizontal axis is how customer is prepared to handle the challenge, while the vertical axis is the priority of those challenges. You can see that there is a clear mismatch between business priority and preparedness. Specifically, customer-facing AI is getting a high business priority, but unfortunately, enterprises don't feel confident to handle it. And because of this, we're looking into specifically the 3 key challenges in why this mismatch is happening. So the first one is building and deploying a chatbot is oftentimes very time consuming. So to build a chatbot using today's technology, you would need to first define what we call intents. So then you have to list all the possible ways of asking for this intent. So for example, here we're showing that customer might be asking questions related to how they can pay, how they can make a payment. And then to catch this intent, the enterprise has to come up with all those different ways, like can I pay with Amex, can I pay with Google Pay, can I pay with Venmo? So they have to come up with all those paraphrases to actually match users' utterance to the intent. And this could be a very time-consuming process because they have to come up with a whole bunch of paraphrases for each intent. Now let's do a little bit of math. Say that we only have one intent for this enterprise, and say that they want to come up with 15 paraphrases, which is roughly the ballpark number. Sometimes it's 10, sometimes it's 20, but let's just take the average of 15. So handling one intent, you need to come up with 15 variations, which is okay. And then we can increase the intents to 10, to 100, to more than 1,000. Then things start to get tricky. So oftentimes the customers we have been talking to, they have at least a few thousand unique intents to handle. And one customer we're working with, they actually have 20,000 intents. So handling such vast amount of variations make the preparation of data very tedious and time consuming. So building and deploying chatbots means that using today's current technology means that you have to come up with all those paraphrases, which is very expensive. So that's the first key challenge. The second key challenge is that building, deploying chatbots, you almost need a whole team that requires a lot of technical resources. So specifically, building and deploying chatbot requires tremendous investment and involvement of multiple stakeholders. To begin with, the process usually starts to involve domain experts to define those intents. And they have to work with data scientists to generate all those paraphrases for each intent. And then ML engineers might also need to be required to work on the NLP component. And finally, software engineers and IT will need to work together to deploy the built chatbot. So this is truly a teamwork, and that requires a lot of stakeholders to work together to solve this problem. And the third challenge is maintenance. If building initial chatbot is not challenging enough, maintaining the chatbot is almost impossible because business is always evolving. The chatbot built to provide customer service should also evolve accordingly. So for an organization, they would have new intents emerging and also old intents ceasing to be relevant. This will require adding or removing intents from the chatbot. For new intent, same efforts in generating prefaces are again required because traditional chatbots requires classifying users' utterance into intent. So adding or removing intents would very likely trigger rebuilding the intent classifier. And also to make all this happen, the organization needs to have dedicated team to maintain the chatbot. Otherwise, the chatbot will soon become obsolete. So this means enterprise needs to have a dedicated team of engineers, data scientists, ML engineers, domain experts to just maintain the chatbot, make sure that it is actually functioning as the enterprise wants it to be. So the pain is not just in building and deploying the initial chatbot, but the pain is actually long lasting after the chatbot is deployed and the customer, the enterprise, they need to actually maintain the chatbot with tremendous amount of efforts. So we have reviewed the 3 key challenges in building and deploying chatbots. To review, the first one is it's a time-consuming task to do. Second of all, it requires a dedicated team comprised of all those different kind of technical resources to actually build and deploy the chatbot. And the third thing, which is also probably the biggest headache, is how do you maintain the chatbot? Because business is always evolving. Now let's look at our solution, Kaibot. So Kaibot is from a series of Petuum offerings called Neurobots. So the name Neurobot is comprised of neuro and a bot, meaning that it is a bot injected with AI. So what makes Neurobots unique is we don't require a large amount of customer data to train a model. Instead, we have pre-trained our model on a huge amount of data so the customers can directly deploy our Neurobots and immediately see results. And because we are simplifying the data preparation process, which also happens to be the most time-consuming process in deploying any AI solution, this will make the ML development cost greatly reduced. And also, we provide integration with your business process. And one of the examples we provide support is for RPAs. You can use our Neurobots, specifically Kaibot, as the interface between your enterprise processes and the customers. So the customer's inquiry will come in and our Kaibot will be able to handle the inquiry and understand the customer's intent, what kind of information they're seeking, what kind of action they're trying to do. And then we can pass this intent to the downstream process, such as our RPA. So Kaibot is, so the name of Kaibot came from Kaiwa. So Kaiwa means conversation in Japanese. So here we're developing this interactive QA engine. We're deploying cutting edge NLP. And part of the NLP technology is actually our proprietary technology. And so the way we build our QA engine is that we actually understand the language itself. So for example, right now we support 3 different languages. Those are English, Japanese, and Chinese. So we train our engine on vast amount of text data. And once our model is trained, it actually understands human language. So that once the customer uploads their data, we can very quickly build a chat function and not actually do this in less than 1 hour. So all it needs is that customer to upload their data, click one button, and within 1 hour, they will already have a functioning QA engine or chatbot. So as described previously, there's no data prep work needed in using our chatbot. Just upload a CSV file or provide a link to your FAQ website, and we will do all the heavy lifting. And we will also support any kind of structured data as long as there is a separation between what's the question and what's the answer. So there's no need to come up with all the different paraphrases manually. So all the paraphrasing is actually happening inside our Kaibot engine. So that part is handled automatically. So you don't need to have a dedicated team of data scientists or ML engineers to be able to deploy or build your chatbot using our Kaibot engine. And also, because for any machine learning deployment, oftentimes in the initial deployment, the accuracy might be limited. What we provide here in Kaibot is that we actually provide this retraining and tuning process that will automatically capture users' interaction with the Kaibot. And also, we obviously cannot trust all the inputs from users because there's always this slight possibility that some users might have this malicious intent. They might want to drive the chatbot into an unpleasant direction. So we actually have separation between normal users and the system administrators. Only the system administrators will have the access to identifying which user interaction should be included in the retraining process. And this retraining process can be initiated and deployed anytime during the life cycle of the Kaibot. And finally, because we identified that one of the main challenge of deploying chatbot is the maintenance part. So here we're actually allowing customers to add and delete data. And all you need to do is to modify your file. You can modify your website, your FAQ website. You can modify your CSV file. And we support adding new intents, and we will automatically generate paraphrases of those intents. And also we support deleting the questions from your CSV file. And also more importantly, because the interaction from user is precious in terms of improving the performance of the Kaibot or chatbot. So we actually keep all the user interactions with Kaibot. So whenever you make update to the CSV file to your website, all the previous intents and also all the retraining data relevant to the previous questions, they're retained. So you don't have to start from scratch again. You have to retrain your model. All the data is prepared, is retained, and you can just always incrementally improve on a model that you have already built and retrained and deployed before. So now I'll hand over to Victor to do a live demo.
Okay, great. Thanks, Ben, for the introductions of the product. So I'm going to actually go and do a live demo for you to show you how Kaibot actually works. So let me start off by showing you how you actually would build a Kaibot. So this is an interface that we have built. So let's say I'm going to go ahead and build a Kaibot. There are actually multiple ways of injecting your data into our systems. You can either select a data set or actually connect to a URL or some sort of a connector that we have built that connects to your data set. So I'm going to just going to go ahead and select a data set. So once I select a data set, I'm just going to give it a name. So I'm going to call it my first bot. This is the first time I'm going to create this chatbot for my company. Select a logo. Since I love Petuum, I'm going to select Petuum as the logo. Big fan of Petuum. So once I've done this, I can actually go ahead and click run, and the system will actually go ahead and build this chatbot on my own. So this process will probably take about 10 to 20 minutes. So instead of sitting here and wait for this bot to be completed, I've actually created a few bots that we can actually see how it works. So the first one, we've actually went to the public internet, to the website of WeWork, and just downloaded the public data set. So this is public data that we have gathered. We didn't take any proprietary information. So here, very simply, I'm just going to type in an inquiry. So imagine I'm sitting in a WeWork office. I'm in the office right now. I'm just going to go ahead and type in, I'm feeling cold. So if I'm sitting in the WeWork office and if I type in I'm feeling cold, chances are it's related to the temperature of the office. So you notice that my inquiry, despite me not having anything related to office or temperature, it is able to understand that I'm actually talking about temperature in my office. So therefore, it's able to pull up relevant questions based on the inquiry that I type in. So let's say I want to type in the question slightly differently. How do I adjust the AC in the office? So once again, despite not having AC in the question, it's able to understand that AC stands for air conditioning. It's able to understand the intent. It's able to understand what I'm trying to get at. So very different from other chatbots in the marketplace today, where you actually need to go and map out all of these different intents. We actually do that on your behalf. So it substantially cuts down on the amount of work that you need. So let me play around a little bit more with this, just so that you know that this is actually a live system. Let me ask another question. Can I bring a dog to work? So it's now referring to a pet policy. In this case, it's able to find a pet policy very quickly. I'm going to try something a little bit more crazy. Can I bring a snake to work? So in this case, you notice that when I type in, can I bring a snake to work, it didn't quite recognize snake as a pet. But that's okay. We are still able to find relevant questions. So despite that question not being, despite the first answer not being the right one, we are still showing you potential possible match so that you can look at the related questions and say, oh, a snake is really my pet. So maybe it is a pet policy. So I'll click on whether it's the pet policy here or what is the WeWork's pet policy here, right? So then it will give you the right answer and so on. Finally, let me try another question. I want to book a conference room. So you notice that I typed in conference room, CONF, in a shortened format. I didn't type in a full word, but it's still able to find the right inquiries in the system. So this is just to show you how you are able to do a lot of these very quickly and rapidly without having to do a lot of the intense creations. So imagine you have to come up with all of these different intents on your own, the amount of time it takes for you to do that. So next, I want to show you a slightly more interesting demo. We actually went to Toyota's Japan website and trained based on their Japanese data set. I actually don't speak Japanese that well. I pretend to a little bit. But anyway, I'm actually going to type in the inquiries in English. So this is a Toyota website in Japan. So maybe I'll type in, what if my car breaks down? So you notice that even though my inquiry is in English, it's able to identify the correct question in Japanese. Just to show you that I'm not cheating here, I'm going to copy this particular answer or inquiries in Japanese, put it into Google Translate, just to show you that it is able to find the correct answer here. So let's try a few more questions. I want to change car key battery. So once again, it's able to find the right answer. In order to prove to you that it is the case, I'm actually wanting to change my car key, my key fobs battery. So here, once again, it's able to identify that very correctly. And just one more thing, where to install the AC filter. So AC filter, how do I know I'm able to identify AC filter in Japanese, but without having to do a lot of training? This is really the magic that we have done. So once again, when I copy the Japanese answer here, it is actually able to say, yeah, this is AC air conditioning filter. So as you can see, our Kaibot is actually very intelligent and powerful in the way that we build it, where it is able to understand the intent, even if we key in the questions in English, and it is able to understand the language and still find the correct answer in Japanese. We can also do that in Chinese and so on with other languages. So that's one of the powerful capability of Kaibot. So with that, let me actually jump back into the presentation. So this is the high-level overview of the architecture of Kaibot. Kaibot, as mentioned earlier, is part of the Neurobots family. So the way we envision you as a customer to be able to use it is you come into the Neurobots family, you actually select Kaibot as one of the Neurobots, one of the bots that you want to use in your environment. We have two ways of delivering this to you. You just saw a more templatized way of how we can deliver that solutions to you via CSV. It also is available via a ERP, CRM, and ECM integrations. So when you come in, there will be an interface where you can click and select the different ERP, CRM applications that you want. And based on that template, it will be able to integrate with those applications and create a Q&A engine for you very quickly and manifest itself via either the your existing ERP CRM applications, or even via your Slack, Line, or any messaging channel. However, we found that most of our customers today, they are actually using the API. So what they do is they have a specific custom applications. We have an API where they would integrate with our API. It funnels into our Kaibot engine, and then we deliver the result through another API, and then the customers actually integrate their custom applications through that API to provide a very specific user experience that they want. So there are really two ways for you to actually take advantage of Kaibot. So some of the other unique, interesting use cases of Kaibot. We have actually been engaged with a lot of customers who, instead of, in addition of just using it as a simple FAQ like chatbot, a lot of them want to use it for support, whether it's customer support, sales support, IT help desk, or HR help desk. A lot of times, these folks are getting a lot of the same kinds of questions from their organizations or from the customers. And this is a way for them to be able to quickly address some of those inquiries very, very quickly. Also integrating with some of the more popular messaging applications. Here are just some of the ones that we are showing you here. There are a lot of other ones that are in the system as well. One of the more interesting use case that we have encountered recently is really customers are asking us about replacing their website search bar. So we know that when we go to do search on many websites today on their own search bar, a lot of times the answer may not be as accurate. We are actually able to help do that replacement for many customers' websites and being able to identify the correct answer. Essentially identifying with a small amount of data set that they have, how we can direct their end customers to the right information. So with that, I just want to quickly share with you, in addition to the Kaibot that we talked about, we actually have 4 neurobots that are publicly available. And in subsequent webinars, we will actually share a little bit more about what we do in ShakeBot, what we do in PixBot and ChimeBot. These are all different neurobots that we have that are based on computer visions and natural language processing. And we're very excited about these technologies that we are building, and look forward to sharing more with them. And with that, that's the conclusions of our presentation. And I'd like to hand it back to Colleen for our Q&A session.
Yeah, thanks, Victor and Ben. We do have some questions, so I'm going to pose that to you guys now.
Okay.
First question we have, it says, you mentioned how you can add new languages in less than 2 weeks. How do you do that?
Yeah, because basically we train our model to be multilingual. So the way we do is that our code base that does not change across languages. So all we need to do is basically get a vast amount of data for a specific language. Say we want to add support for Vietnamese. All we need to do is get text data for that language, and then we can very quickly train a model that is able to understand that language. And then we can deploy the model that we trained into our Kaibot framework. So that's how we can support a new language very quickly.
Okay, great. Victor, did you have anything to add?
No, that is a great answer from Ben. Essentially, we are, with the technologies that we build, we are able to basically take in new languages in various formats and be able to get that going in a couple of weeks. In fact, in one of our new languages, we actually have done that very quickly for customers of ours in Southeast Asia.
Okay, cool. There's another question. What is the largest data size that you have seen in your system?
So in terms of customer data, the largest data sets we see is actually having 29,000 intents. But we also did a stress testing on our system. So what we did is actually we got the Jeopardy data. So that has more than 200,000 questions answer pairs. And we actually feed that into our system, and we can actually very quickly, even for that kind of a large amount of intense questions, we're able to train our Kaibots within about 30 minutes. And then we also tested the performance. So far, it's doing pretty well.
Great. The next question is, are there any abilities to understand speech, or is it just entering text?
So we actually provide 2 interaction methods. So obviously the most simple way is to use text, but also we support voice input. So right now we also support 3 languages, English, Japanese, and Chinese Mandarin. And our speech technology is also very similar to our NLP technology, meaning that we can add support to a new language very quickly. Just because it's speech, it takes a bit more time to train a model, to tune a model. So to adding support for a new language in speech, it takes us roughly about 1 month to add that.
And I'm actually quite excited about the speech capability that Ben's team is building, because one of the things that he was able to show internally is that the ability to customize it on the ambient noise environment. So this is where the uniqueness of Petuum comes in, where if you want to add in the speech capability and you want to use it, for example, in your hospital or in a restaurant or in an airport or a stadium environment, we can actually customize it based on the noise environment so that when you use a speech technology from us, it's able to filter out the noise and hone in on the speech. So this will be part of our future webinar where we will share a little bit more detail with you. So we are quite excited. I'm personally very excited about this technology.
So am I. The next question is, how are you able to reduce the preparation step so much?
So because we first look at the problem, we see where is the vast amount of majority of work in preparation of the data. And we realize that most of the time, the customer actually has to spend their energy in preparing those paraphrases. So one of the customers we talked to is that they're using one of the other vendors to build their customer interaction engine, and they're paying handsomely to this customer, to this vendor. But what they end up realizing is that because they are the ones preparing those paraphrases, so they feel like they're doing 80% to 90% of the work, even though they have to pay the vendor to actually use their framework. So that seems quite unfair to them, and also they feel the pain of asking their couple hundred of employees to just come in, show up to work and prepare those paraphrases. So the whole point of us reducing the challenge in building the initial chatbot is to remove this paraphrasing step. So that's why we train our model on a vast amount of text data so that make sure our model can actually understand the language. It can actually match two sentences which are talking about the same thing. So that way we can eliminate the need of the tedious work of preparing the paraphrases. So that's how we can reduce dramatically the amount of data preparation work from the customer side.
Okay, great. And we have two more questions. It says, how are you able to enter the text in English while the answer was in Japanese in the demo?
Yeah, so that's the proprietary technology that we developed here in Petuum. So basically our model is what we call multilingual, meaning that it actually understands not just the one language, it also understands multiple languages. So it's not just matching, say, two sentences in the same language to identify that those two sentences are talking about the same thing. We can actually match those sentences across different languages. Say we have one sentence in English, one sentence in Japanese, and then we can do this cross-lingual match so that we know, okay, those two sentences are actually talking about the same thing. So because we can do this match, that's how we can actually support the multilingual so that user can input their inquiry in one language and we can match this question to another language in the database.
Okay, great, thanks. And the last question is, can you talk to us about your pricing and packaging at all?
Yeah, so I'll take that question. So our packaging is basically based on a annual subscription, meaning that so for each bot, there will be an annual pricing, and it's a SaaS model. So once you actually procure this product, you can actually use it from a SaaS model. Everything will be hosted by us. You don't have to worry about hosting it on your own. And the one unique thing that we are providing as part of making Neurobots available right now is that we actually takes care of all the consumption. So that means it doesn't matter how much you use, unlike some of the solutions out there where they are actually charging you on a per interactions basis. With us, for a single fee, for a single annual subscription price, it's unlimited usage, meaning that if you have 1 million interactions a month, it will still be the same cost to you. So that's the unique pricing and packaging model that we are offering from Neurobots.